Having fun, them fellas on the ground, moving from street to street, all around the town.
Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. We are speaking about dyslexia. October is an interesting month. There's so many things. Is breast cancer, is mental health, is Girl Guides, it is there's another financial institution, credit unions, but we're talking about dyslexia. And we're very happy to be speaking with Cathryn Kelshall, founder and chairperson of the Dyslexia Association of Trinidad and Tobago.
I'm the vice chair. I'm the vice
chair. Yes, ma'am. And we also have Brendon Braithwaite. He's a board member, event planner. I heard author as well.
Yeah.
And I want to ask specifically about that in terms of that experience. But thank you very much for being here. And give us a little idea of what dyslexia is, please, Ms. Kelshall.
Well, I like to say that dyslexia is an unexpected reading difficulty because parents will have a child who's bright enough, usually, very often sort of very good at puzzles and that kind of thing, three-dimensional things. And then they go to school and very soon the teacher will say, you know, he's not learning those letters, he's not learning those sounds. So really it is a specific difficulty with learning to read, write and spell. It is not across the board. So that's the way that I like to explain it.
And thank you for that explanation, one. I also want to speak to the way that we describe things and the narrative we put behind. Because the way that you speak to a level of specificity, individuals who are therefore hard of hearing, they may, as opposed to saying they lost the hearing, they may have said that they gained the deafness. And I also heard that individuals who are dyslexic, they might have some superpowers. So what might some of those be?
That's right. I think you should talk to Brendon because he's definitely full of superpowers.
We have a superhero here.
Yes, you do.
Let me explain. Most of the times, the dyslexic student or person is unaware of what skills they have. And if you do flip it, meaning that you have to cope in different ways. And suppose, in my case, I was really good in school at more diagrams, and therefore I excelled at a subject like geography, in which I had shapes and places and spaces to identify things and learn things. Or something like human and social biology, where I had to draw certain parts of the human body. That navigated in education, where I was able to, of course, duck certain courses. English and maths wasn't the best. And so therefore, still trying to navigate through school. But the reality is, it's not only me, it's have a lot of people out there who mask their inability to read properly, as well as interpret letters and numbers. And so it becomes a superpower when you consider who else is dyslexic. People like Steve Jobs, people like Tom Cruise, and a lot of people who can easily do business, but because they see the world in a different light.
You say English and math. Mm-hmm. Is it that it was the words in math, or was it the integers?
The integers. It's basically anything that you could see. Like, let me give you an example. Someone will think that a dyslexic student or dyslexic person will see the word was and see it back to front, as in saw. The reality is, it's not that. It's just we just process it much slower. We see it the same way you can. It's just we process it much slower. Is in writing, in some instances, when we write things, we may write it wrong side. So it's just something in the brain that inhibits us from being the ideal student when it comes to words and letters.
Let me tell you that dyslexics have particular difficulty with sequences. So they're very right brain, and right brain is three-dimensional, colors, art, the arts, engineering, architecture, but the left brain is what deals with sequences. And so trying to get those letters and those numbers in sequence. So a dyslexic child might add 6 and 6, 12, put down the 1 and carry the 2. So it's not that they don't understand the math, it's the arithmetic that lets them down, the sequences of the letters, or writing down a telephone number and getting it in the wrong order. That's the kind of thing. But it's very specific. I went into infant 1 class, and the teacher had little slate boards, and this child had drawn an amazing snail with the most extraordinary colors. And I said, "Who is that child?" And she told me, and I said, "Well, I'll see him by the end of the term, because I was the remedial reading teacher, and he did, and he was dyslexic. But it's that talent, it's a discrepancy between that talent and the inability to get words down on paper and to take words off paper.
And I want to follow up on that experience that you would have had, looking at somebody and saying the amount of talent that this person has, I think I'm going to see them. Speak to me a little bit about diagnosis, please, because Brendon also said that many people, they cope without knowing. So what is that process of diagnosis like?
Well, the diagnosis has to be done by an educational psychologist. So we have in fact trained over 1,000 teachers in specific methods for teaching reading for these kids, and also for screening. But we can't actually diagnose dyslexia. It's a very expensive process. The Ministry of Education has a student support services, and the way it really works is schools are supposed to refer children to student support services, and then they get the assessment. But it is hugely under-resourced, the student support services, and children can be referred in front too, and still, go. I've had principals tell me they go through school and they still haven't had an assessment. So that needs beefing up a lot. And I think you don't really have to prove that the child is dyslexic or somebody's dyslexic to get the help. You don't have to wait. We just need to get in there and do the work. So it's the assessment is really proving the discrepancy, really. Looking at the skills a child has, and if you have great big talents and the difficulties are all in that coding, sequencing, that kind of thing, then they would bring a diagnosis of dyslexia. But don't wait for the diagnosis.
While the grass is growing. But Brendon, have you had the experience of being or engaging with an educator who has had this kind of capacity? So they've passed through and, okay, well, this is how I deal with someone who has dyslexia, and I don't treat them unequally, but I treat them differently. Have you had that experience?
No, I'm much older. And in my primitive years, there was either you're bright or you're not bright.
You don't see.
Or you're not, right?
Yes,
you're done.
True.
And so when you go to school, it's like you're not good at dictation. In the back of the class trying to write down, I can't write anything on my paper. My paper is empty, and the teachers are saying this student is not a good student. The challenges from that, it still happens all over the country, still happens in the education system. And so therefore, that's why the advocacy now to make sure that we communicate this. So just making sure that people have an idea that dyslexia is not a being dumb, but dyslexia is probably just something that is a little limitation, but the reality is we're really that good. We are good. And people are like superheroes in a different forum. When you put them in a different forum, because unique people actually change the world. And that's what dyslexia does. It makes you unique.
Now, I'm not calling myself a superhero, but I'm feeling some levels of resonance, because in terms of, if you spell a word for me, it's hard for me to process it. If I see it on paper, yes. And even like, and I see that I'm switching some of those words now in terms of like THE for the ON, I might put NO.
Right.
So building that sensitization, how do people reach out to the association? How do people try to get resources? So it's not as though, okay, well, I'm trying to diagnose anybody, but I'm just trying to get tools for my toolkit.
Yes, you need to, don't have to think that the child is dyslexic. You just have to have a child, either a teacher or parent, and you're worried about this child gaining literacy skills. Just call us. I'm going to give you the number, but just Google Dyslexia Association. You're in Trinidad, we're the first ones that are going to come up. Nothing in the States is going to come up when you first Google. But our number is 281-READ, 281-7232. So that's easy to remember. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we have a website. Again, if you Google us, it'll come up, but it's dyslexiatt.org, that easy.
Office is in Woodbrook on Alberto Street.
But you don't actually have to come.
Yeah.
Just suppose somebody came.
Which some people appreciate, because depending on where you are,
yeah,
Yeah,
somebody came from Penal the other day. And he listened and said, "You didn't have to come." She said, "But I wanted to come." But you know, we don't actually have any classes going on in the office.
I guess sometimes when people just see that there is a possibility and they're looking for
assistance and help.
Assistance, especially for this person that they love, but they think that they need help to be able to help that person. And with that, I want a little bit about the campaign, and I want to go through the process of being an author.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Well, it is Dyslexia Month, so as Brendon came up with Raising the Volume, which is great. And so we are coming on TV and radio a lot this month. And some of our teachers are having sessions in their schools or in their communities where they'll be showing a film called How Difficult Can This Be? I want to tell parents and teachers that film is on YouTube. It is brilliant. If you want to understand why people have problems with learning, with any learning difficulty, just how difficult can this be on YouTube, it's really fabulous. And that's our campaign this year.
Okay.
Really.
Raising the volume. We're basically just trying to come out to the communities, let people know, and have people talking about it.
And talking about it, we have about 45 seconds. Tell me about the experience of being an author and working towards that.
It was challenging. It was challenging, of course. Again, I've been doing it for the past. I wrote the book. It took me 5 years to write a book, and started during COVID, because I realized I needed to reach out to a lot of event planners and help them on their journey to becoming great. It's a book called EPIC, Event Planning in the Caribbean. It's in major bookstores, as well as if you just Google it online, you'll be able to get it. It's on Amazon as well. But it's not about the book. I really here to talk about dyslexia. It really is something in which I feel if you send something with, even as an adult or a kid, reach out to us. Let us help. Let us provide some light and turn up the volume a little more.
I'm reaching out by dialing 281-READ. That will give an idea for the website and all of the information and the capacity building that is there.
Before we go, I really want to say we've trained over 1,000 teachers, and they're all over Trinidad and Tobago. So when you phone us, if you're in Maruga, Matura, I don't care where you are, we will find you a teacher to do a screening test and to do the tutoring. All over.
Thank you very much. Cathryn Kelshall, thank you very much, Brendon Braithwaite. And just raising the volume and doing so on the Now Morning Show with us here. And we want to thank you. We ask you to continue tuning in. The show continues after this. Stay with us.